Hello, welcome to Spanish Media Diaries. This is the series where I talk about all of the things that I have been consuming, reading, listening to, etc. that were natively created in Spanish. I am changing it up just a little bit, and I'm no longer going to talk about every single thing I consume. If I don't feel like I have anything to say about it, I'm just going to skip it, but I will put them in at the end, so that you at least know they exist. We will start with books. I have finished 2 books since the last episode. The first one was Más allá del invierno by Isabel Allende. This is, I think, my 7th Isabel Allende book. I am trying to read all of her novels. This one is actually my least favorite so far as like pure vibing with the book. There are some of her earlier ones that I had more like concerns with the content. But I'd still like vibed with those more. This one, I listened to it and it was never like I didn't want to keep listening, but I did really not get along with one of the main characters in particular. This book is set in New York City, where a woman from Chile is a guest lecturer at a university. She is living in like the downstairs apartment or whatever of this other lecturer who's also a main character. And then the third main character is a young migrant from Guatemala who kind of gets accidentally introduced into their lives. And it's this major snowstorm in New York City, and these 3 have to kind of work out their lives, how they're getting through this together. So the narrator kind of person and the young girl, their backstories were really interesting. I really liked them. I didn't feel incredibly connected to them, but I did enjoy their perspectives. The male perspective, I hated it. You were supposed to, I think, at least to some extent, become fond of him and like understand his motivations and his character, and I did not. I thought that she was way too tolerant of him. Not a bad read, but I absolutely wouldn't recommend it unless you are kind of trying to read through all of Isabel Allende's books, because honestly it's just not a good one of hers. So then I also read El Cartero de Neruda from Chile. It's like a modern classic, I would say. There is a movie that's called Something Different on Netflix, and I actually watched the movie a long time ago. And so when I saw this book in like a kind of free library kind of thing, I grabbed it. And it was a short read, and the writing is spectacular. Amazing writing. Very, very funny, very clever, very picturesque. Like, he's an incredibly talented author. The actual story was just fine. You're following this young teenage boy. He gets a job as the mailman of Neruda. He basically falls in love with this girl in the backdrop of political unrest leading up to the election where Salvador Allende was elected president, and Pablo Neruda was also potentially a candidate. That's like the context that's happening. So it was funny because my complaint about the movie when I saw it was that I felt like the girl character was like very underdeveloped, underutilized. I was like, she deserved a better story. Little did I know that they actually improved her character a lot in the movie. She is such a non-character in this. She just exists to be hot. She just exists for even like old adult men to lust over, let alone the younger one. Yeah, so that part was really disappointing. So it was a positive experience to read it, but it did really, really frustrate me at the same time. Then shows, I've watched 2. So the first one is a docu-series called 1994, and this was about the assassination of a presidential candidate in Mexico that happened obviously in 1994. And this was really informative, really interesting. I had no context, knew nothing about this beforehand. And so I did do a lot of Wikipediaing during the series. It was, I think, a well-done series. I didn't know that they really don't know still, allegedly, what happened, or like what the reasonings or all of the machinations behind this. I don't know. They still don't really know. And so it was kind of one of those series where you get to the end and they're like, yeah, so I guess we'll never really know. And it's like, what? I thought you were going to tell me. So that was a little disappointing, but yeah, it was fine. If you are not specifically interested in Mexican politics, you're not going to be interested in this. But if you have any kind of interest in that, it was interesting. Then I watched the show Salvador, which is a Spanish Netflix show. And this was the most engrossing show. Like, I think I watched it all in one day or maybe 2 days. It's like 8 episodes, I think. I still have no idea what my opinion on this show is. But the background, you are following an ambulance driver who used to be a doctor. Something happened and he's no longer a doctor. He's an ambulance driver, estranged from his family, whatever. This is like a spoiler, but it's also in the description of the show. So his daughter is killed at a neo-Nazi rally, basically. Not a rally, but like a fight. And he had no idea that she was involved in any of this. He's never been involved in any of this, never been like even right-leaning. So he starts to try to figure out what happened to his daughter, like why she was involved in all of this, and things, obviously develop from there. So it's kind of overall discussing the development, the rise of the far right, of fascism, of neo-Nazism, Nazism in Spain, and obviously that's happening in most places, unfortunately, right now. So I think first things first, I think it's really good that they are trying to talk about this, that they are acknowledging this and like addressing it on such a like big mainstream platform, because I think a lot of people do try to deny that that is happening in most places. So I think that that's great. Whether they were successful in addressing it, I think is a lot less clear to me. I think that they were maybe too tolerant of this. So, they're trying to address like how people radicalize. That's what I'm trying to say. They're trying to address how people radicalize and the contexts personally that facilitate that in their community, in their circle, of that stuff, which I think is fine. I think that's good. Hopefully they like consulted with psychologists and sociologists and all of that. And it seems like they did, based on, I know a little bit about this, and like it does seem like they generally had the idea that like, if you're isolated, if you're rejected from other groups, that kind of thing. But I didn't feel like they adequately addressed the personal. Most people go through similar things at some point and don't radicalize. So like, what is it that makes that a thing? And also what kind of accountability has to be in place? All of that was like completely overlooked. But I did think that it was lacking in a lot of ways. But nonetheless, super fascinating. And I think if you are okay with the incredible amount of content warnings, it is an interesting watch. Then movies. We have Un Monstruo de Mil Cabezas. Very, very interesting Mexican movie where this woman is trying to get treatment for her husband's cancer, and he is being rejected by his insurance company for this particular treatment. And so she goes to like the business and tries to get them to listen to her, and a whole like kind of movie takes place from there. It's very dark, but I think very, very understandable for anyone who has taken part in any kind of private for-profit kind of medical system. Very understandable. I don't think like the greatest movie of all time as far as the long-term impact. It's still an important like topic to be discussing, so it was fine. And then absolutely wild movie that I watched called La Llamada. I saw a clip of this on Instagram and I was like, oh my god, I have to watch this movie. Like, I was obsessed. Unfortunately, that clip is the best part of the movie by far, not even close. And so the rest of it was really pretty unremarkable. Well, it was remarkable, but in a very weird way. So this is a comedy drama type musical. Not super musical, but a little bit of musical, about two young adults who go to summer camp. It's never really clarified why they are at summer camp, but they are. Get into all kinds of like trouble for like leaving unauthorized and all this stuff. But like they end up, punished to stay behind this weekend with head nun or whatever, another nun, and these two girls. So they have this crazy weekend. Very weird movie. Very weird movie. Can't say I loved it, but it was okay. Then finally I watched a documentary called Las Sandinistas. I'm reading a book related right now, and so I watched a bunch of short documentaries on YouTube, but Canopy had this full-length documentary, and it was very, very interesting. It was made by a woman from the US, so some of it is in English, but a lot of it is in Spanish. So it interviews a bunch of the women who were leaders in the Sandinistas, and kind of who they were, what they were fighting for, what that was like for them, and what they were hoping to achieve, what they did achieve, and then kind of, a lot of it did fall apart through, U.S. intervention, through things not going well with the men who ended up being in charge. Obviously there's a lot of mixed information and propaganda. Regardless, super, super interesting, super informative documentary that I did really enjoy watching. Well, those are all of my updates. Let me know what you've been consuming lately, and I will see you in the next one.